Hello! In this video I will show you how to make the skin color more saturated in the 3D LUT Creator. Let's look at the photo. It was shot in the sunset. The photo doesn't have those deep red tones that I saw during the photo shoot, despite the fact that the sun was quite low. I want to get here the same saturated orange color as, for example, the color in the Mad Max 3 or Transformers movies. I've found the way how to achieve it, and I will share it with you. To begin with, I'll try the most straightforward method first. I want to get saturated colors, so I will increase the saturation. I will shift the skin color towards red because it became too yellow. The orange color looks saturated, but there is still something wrong here. First, the color is very flat. Second, the highlights got clipped on the face and on the chest. So I reset all the settings and try another method. As you know, the saturation is directly related to the contrast. That is, if you increase the contrast, the saturation also increases. I will increase the contrast. Since the skin is bright here, it becomes even brighter. You can move the pivot of the contrast curve to the right to increase the contrast of the skin. For example, like this. The skin is getting closer to the color I need. However, the result is too rough. Now I'll open the Curves tab. I often notice that shifting the black point on the master curve to the right nicely increases the saturation. Let's do it. I'm trying to give the skin color this look, but half of the photo became black. I will try to mask it. I go to the Mask tab, choose Luminance Mode, and move the left edge of the mask curve down. Turn on the Mask Preview. That is, the effect will be reduced in the dark areas of the photo, and on the bright spots the correction will be applied more strongly. Black color won't change at all. Let's see what happened. Here is the before and after. The skin turned out to be more saturated, but the overall color became strange. Let's see the resulting curves that affect the image. I move the cursor on a neutral color to look at the curves of neutrals. On these curves, I see how the mask canceled the effect on the shadows. Here are the curves without the mask and with it. As a result, the contrast increases on the midtones and highlights. But on that range, the contrast decreases, and the saturation also decreases. That is, the shadows in the photo become less saturated. To my taste, the gray shadows look very unnatural, so I will continue the experiments. I turn off the mask. As can be seen, the shadows on the face became black. That is, when I turn on the mask, the black is added to the shadows, and they turn gray. Therefore, I will not work with the master curve. I will use RGB Curves. I click the M to RGB button to transfer the master curve to RGB Curves. Extra curve points can be removed with the Smooth button. I turn on the curves and reset the red curve. As you can see, the shadows get red, and the transition from yellow through orange to the dark red color looks more natural than the transition from yellow through orange to the gray. Thus, I increase the saturation of red by reducing the other two components, green and blue. This can be seen on the curves. Now I need to come up with a mask that targets the effect to the skin colors only. I could try using triple masks, but they have some drawbacks. Because of the sharp transitions, such masks can increase the noise, torn color borders appear on the image, and so on. So I decide to make a mask based on one of the RGB channels. Let's look at the image channels separately. Here is the red channel. Here is the green channel and blue channel. Obviously, the skin is brighter in the red channel. Therefore, I will take the red channel as a mask basis. I turn on Preview and make a diagonal mask curve. That is, the mask is black where the red component equals 0, and my correction doesn't affect the photo. The mask is white where the red component is at maximum, so the curves have the full effect. I get a very soft and precise mask that preserves the whole picture. It's not a mask in the general sense, as it doesn't select anything specific. The mask affects the gray color because the red, green, and blue components are equal in the neutral colors. There is even a blue color in the mask. If the blue color is not fully saturated, it also contains the red component. That is, this mask is a mixture of two characteristics, the brightness of the color and its redness. Why should I use such a non-selective mask? The fact is, the masks based on the color channels are very smooth. This can be seen on the color wheel. There are no sharp boundaries. The photo looks fine too. The mask doesn't enhance any artifacts. It is the photo itself. A color correction with such a mask will be very smooth and will not enhance the noise. Also, this correction will be versatile and can be applied to a large number of different photos. So let's see what I got. I turn off the mask preview. Here's how the image looked before and how it looks after. An orange tint was added to the skin, as I wanted, while the rest of the colors didn't change so much. So why does such a mask work so well? As can be seen from the mask curve, the most correction occurs in the areas where the red channel is at maximum. For example, saturated red color, or white, but if we look at the curves, the red channel doesn't change at all, while the green and blue components have almost no change at the highlights. That is, if the picture has the white color, it doesn't change because the white point doesn't change in all curves. But in the case of a saturated red color, the red channel will remain, but the green and blue components will decrease. That is, the red becomes saturated. Let's look at the black point. The correction is not applied to the areas where the red channel is minimal, for example, to the black color, or to the saturated green and blue colors. I go to the curves. The black color doesn't change because the curves only make the color darker, and the black color can't be darker than it is. The curves affect mostly the green and blue colors in the shadows, but they are protected by a mask. Therefore, the shadows do not change. So, I got a correction. This is before, and that is after. The skin becomes darker and more saturated. As you probably know, the saturation works on dark colors. Therefore, the skin simultaneously gets darker and more saturated. Everything looks good, but you may notice that the photo becomes warmer. If I move the cursor to a neutral color, for example, gray background, then I will see the resulting curves. The red channel remained the same, but the green and blue curves are dropped. Let's try to strengthen the blue color also. That is, I will create the same correction, but for the blue color. To do it, I compile the LUT, load it as external LUT, and reset the settings. I will need the mask tool again, so I will exclude the mask effect from the external LUT. Here it is at the beginning of the processing chain. That is, all the correction that I made is in the external LUT now. I will do a similar correction to the one I've already done. I just keep the blue channel. That is, I cut the black in the red and green channels. If I try to use the red channel mask from the previous step and invert it, the shadows will get cut off, because the black point on the mask curve no longer protects the shadows from such strong changes. So I'll take the blue channel instead of the red channel. This is the mask based on the blue channel. The skin is dark here, but the sky is lighter. I can get the desired hue of the blue with the help of the curves. For example, like this. Here is just the first correction, and there are both. If you now look at the curves of the neutral colors, you can see what color cast is applied to the neutrals. If it is important to keep the neutrals balanced, I can change the second correction to compensate the effect of the first correction. For example, like this. Neutrals become darker, but they have almost no tint. Before and after. Now let me show you how it works on another photo. This is the before, and that is the after. As you can see, the skin becomes more saturated, but all the corrections are very soft because I use very soft masks. And one more photo. This is the before and after applying the LUT. The original skin tone was quite pink because this photo was taken at dusk. The color turns out to be too magenta after such color correction. Therefore, I want to correct my first correction that affects the skin. This correction is stored in the external LUT. Here is the image without it, and there it is with it. In order to edit it, I can swap the current correction and the external LUT. Thus, the second blue channel correction goes to the external LUT, and it is applied after all the other corrections. The skin correction from the external LUT is loaded to the main tools of the program. Here it is. I will go to the Curves tab and make the skin tone I need. I move the black point in the green channel to the left to reduce the purple tint. And I move another black point of the blue channel to add saturation. This is how I easily get a rich skin color, where it is almost absent in the source image. Here is the before, and there is the after. That's all. I hope this method of increasing the skin saturation will be useful to you. Do not stop experimenting. Send your examples to our Facebook group. Bye, everyone.